Hey, what's up, guys? It is a Friday morning / afternoon, wherever you guys are, and I figured let's hop on and do a live stream. It's been a little while since I've done a video, and some of the stuff that I'm working on now won't be out for a little while, and so I just kind of wanted to hang out and chat with you guys, hang out, do a video, that kind of stuff. As far as maybe some upcoming projects that I've been working on, I did an interview with some guys in Russia, some fellow radar detector enthusiasts over there. And we talked about all the different radar guns and radar detectors and just what things are like over in Russia. And it's been really interesting because things are super different over there. Very little of what applies here in the US applies in Russia and vice versa. Obviously, some does, but things are super, super different. So it's been fun to talk to people who experience things that are very different than we have here. I'm also working on a JBV1 tutorial video series. It's going to be a 3-part video series. Hey, what's up, Haywood? And that's going to take a little bit of time to get everything edited and put together. And I'm also waiting on some other like tutorials and stuff to get finished as well, so we can all release them together. And so that's something that I'm kind of waiting on that. Plus, I need to do all the editing and prep stuff myself too. So that's not going to be out for a while. I've been working on some things here at home. I've got an MPH Z35 discontinued K-band gun. It's the one that does 16 millisecond pop. I've been having issues with the battery handles. I've got 2 of these. One of them, the battery handle is busted, basically. It's cracked. It doesn't lock into place. It's missing this plastic piece. And so yesterday I popped it open and did a battery replacement. The batteries inside this, they don't really hold a charge anymore. So let's see if I can turn it on. Past like a day or two, batteries are dead. It lasts for like maybe a few minutes, and I got to pop it on the charger again. So I'm like, all right, let's order some replacement batteries. Inside, it's just 2 rechargeable D batteries. And so I pulled them out and replaced them with 2 new rechargeable D batteries. It worked well. I did it on my busted battery handle first, just while I'm learning the process. And then I'm going to do it later on my good handle that actually locks into place properly and stuff. So they're just kind of a little side project behind the scenes. So I've been working on that. Otherwise, it's been pretty straightforward. I'm finishing up the V1 stuff. I'm glad. And I've kind of been talking about like other stuff on the forums, things to go test. There's things like I'm kind of wanting to test maybe some radar detectors that don't normally get talked about as much or tested that often. Like, what about the new Cobras, the Road Scout? There's the Dual Pro 360, which is like a Max 360. Cobra has their new 480i $150 detector. Test that one out. What about things like I don't know, the Escort IXC? I've been wanting to do a review on that too. The one that I have now, the display is not working, so I'm gonna have to send it in for repairs to Escort for a second time. First time I had some 34/7 detection issues that I think got fixed. So I'll send it back and get that repaired. And so anyway, just a variety of different detectors that I'm wanting to I'm personally curious on testing, and they're not the ones that are like the best, greatest detectors ever necessarily, but I think they would still be worth testing just to help kind of fill in some of the pieces as far as how things look big picture wise, you know? So that's something that I think as the weather is starting to get nicer here and we get into summertime, could be nice and worth testing. I also think Thea, of course, once that comes out, a ton of things to actually test with that. So we're just brainstorming ideas on all sorts of different things: long range testing, BSM testing, filtering, specter immunity. There's just like 1,000 different things that we can test. So just don't have one here we can't test yet, but just kind of in the excitement and preparation phase, you know, just discussing different things that we would want to test and how do we set up the detectors in terms of settings and what's the most comparable to Thea, just all that kind of discussion, you know? So yeah, we just kind of been doing a lot of that. Jib Jab, what's up, Jib Jab? What's up, Jag42? Any news on the Redline 360? No, it's just something as I mentioned we saw in like Escort software. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition. And a lot of the stuff, I mean, maybe it's something they're working on. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe it's something that got pushed back due to COVID-19. Something that we see at SEMA, for example, or CES, a lot of times company may show something that they're working on, but that may not necessarily even come to fruition. Maybe this is something similar. Like, I have no idea what the status is of the Redline 360. It would be cool. I was just updating my notes here for, you know, new and updated radar detectors. And with the shutdown, there's really nothing that's been going on. So, I mean, in the meantime, I've been just working on my stuff here, fixing battery handles, planning future tests and whatnot. But there's not really a ton that's going on right now. What's up, Vinny? I guess the V1 is like the big news right now. People have started getting their new V1s. They've started shipping again. So if you're wanting one, they have started shipping out, and a few people have started getting them. There's a new firmware version now. It's 4.1019. I don't know what the difference is between 19 and 18. It seems like everything is similar, but I don't know what the differences are. BS laws. Have any of the repaired V1 Gen 2s failed again? Yeah, and that's super surprising. There's been so far 3 detectors, 3 V1s that have failed, been sent out for repairs, came back and failed a second time. I'm really surprised to see that happen. I thought at first maybe it's been a one-off or something, then it happened again, and then it happened again. And I've actually adjusted my V1 review on my website as well. I've adjusted my recommendations and all because we're starting to see repeated failures here on the V1s. And it's unfortunate because I think it's a great detector. It's a great detector that's having some very definite power off issues here. And I really hope that Valentine gets a solid handle on this. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, it's not completely resolved, which sucks because otherwise I think it's a great detector, especially if you pair it with V1 Driver or JBV1. There's just so much stuff you can do with it. But I know kind of the big thing in the news, I guess, is just the power off issues, and they keep dying. And if you go in the forums, you'll still see people reporting, I've got my V1 and it died, and it sucks. But yeah. Mr. Mike, I'm considering getting a radar detector. However, I've heard that the LA police are progressively using more laser. Yeah, they use in LA, it's almost exclusively KA, I believe Stalker 34/7s. So like either dash mounts or handheld units like this, it's the Stalker 2. So 34/7 radar guns, as well as laser. Laser's super common out there. They're not the most difficult laser guns to jam necessarily, but yeah, there's a ton of laser all over LA. So a radar detector and a laser jammer are usually your 2 things. Waze, of course, is a great way to help as far as laser as well, because officers have to be stationary when they're running laser, so it's great. Mark them on Waze. But yeah, laser jammers would be the best thing to add in addition to your radar detector and Waze. 9-Ball Guru, how do you get the new V1 firmware? I don't know. I don't know if they're even updating. I tried punching in my serial number for my V1 into their like serial number update thing, and it didn't say that there's an update even available. It just says I have a Gen 2, which is the newest V1. So I don't know if there's like an update process available at this time, or even what the updates are. Sometimes they'll release updates that are minor internal changes that don't change performance or filtering or features or anything like that. It's just kind of running changes depending on different parts that are being sourced or whatever. Maybe that's something similar here too. I don't know. I've sent him an email and asked, what is it with 4.1019, the new update that it changes? I don't know at this time, and I don't have an update for mine. Oh, AJ, I just bought the new Cobra 480i. I'd love to send it to you so you can test it. Yeah, thank you. Shoot me a message on RDF or something. I'm kind of collecting a list of different detectors that I want to test. I, for fun, went onto Amazon, like, let me buy all the detectors that I want. It's like $2,000 just to get the detectors that I don't have sitting on my shelf that I want to go test with. So obviously it really helps me out if you guys are willing to send me detectors and I don't have to go spend the money myself. I mean, I could do a lot more if I'm not spending all my money on detectors, but yeah, anyway, there's that. Let's see what else. Ski Bike. Love to see your interview in the Car and Driver magazine. Yeah, great. Thanks. That was kind of fun. I talked about them with that, and I forgot that I even did that until people started posting on the forums. I'm like, oh, that's right. I talked about the V1 with Car and Driver, and that was in there. So that was kind of cool. Let's see, Luke. Hey, man, I just installed a unit in R3 and used all your videos for my detector choice. Awesome. Mirror hardwire install and settings preferences. Great, awesome content. Thanks a ton. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad to hear that it worked out well for you and the videos are useful and helpful. The hidden archives. My V1 Gen 2 hasn't died. Hopefully it stays strong. Yeah, so what we're seeing so far is about 70% are kind of based on RDF. About 70% of detectors don't have any failures. About 30% of them are dying. I personally think that's a pretty high failure rate. It's not 100%. I mean, most detectors are, you buy them and they work just fine, especially the newer ones. It seems to be kind of the first batch of detectors are the ones that have been having issues. So that's kind of our failure rate that we're seeing, at least on RDF, maybe 100 detectors or so. I think more that people have bought and polled and stuff. But anyway, yeah, about 70% of detectors seem to be okay so far. And hopefully this continues to get better as there's new V1s coming out that have had these repairs done in process, not just looking at the initial batch of detectors. Dave, will you be able to update an old radar detector? What do you mean by update? A lot of them have maybe software updates available for maybe changing the features and stuff, but there's only so much you can do in software. A lot of times you do have to get like a new detector with new hardware. 1 second. You want to go out, boy? You want to go out? Okay. Go. My mom just came back. She was out walking my daughter with the stroller, especially on a sunny day like this, and they just came back to my dog all excited. So anyway, let's see. American Soldier. I was able to get my V1 Gen 2 fixed. I was the guy that bought it off eBay. Oh, good. I'm really glad you were able to get that done. I know you messaged me and mentioned that Valentine wasn't able to repair it. How did you get it repaired, considering you were not the original owner? And usually if you buy it off eBay, you're screwed in case something goes wrong. You don't get the warranty. Did you have to have like the original owner say, it's my detector and I'm sending it to you? Or how did that work? I'm kind of curious, because usually you have to buy it from Valentine to get a warranty so that if it fails, they'll take care of it. So I'm curious about that. Let's see, Bernie, I want the V1 Gen 2, but since they're still having issues with the power on problem, I'll just keep my Gen 1. Sadly, it's too old to use JBV1. Yeah, I mean, if you are cool with buying a second detector, you can always buy the Gen 2. I mean, if you don't like it, you got 30 days to return it. If it goes wrong, you can get it repaired. And then once you get comfortable with it, then maybe you could sell your Gen 1. I mean, again, most detectors are perfectly fine, especially nowadays. And if you still have your Gen 1 as a backup, you can try out the Gen 2. I think it's a great upgrade with the better performance and better BSM filtering. I really like it. My Gen 1 has been sitting there on the desk collecting dust for a while, unless I'm using it for JBV1 testing or long-range testing or something. But the Gen 2, I'm using it a lot as a detector that I'm liking running. So, I mean, I totally understand the concern and everything and kind of being a little hesitant to buy one, but it's still a great detector. I'm personally happy that I've got one, even though mine has died. So KC, just got the new red line. Nice unit, and your videos helped a lot. Was wondering where you can purchase a laser radar gun. You can get them like laser guns off of eBay. Pretty common. You can get them from forums. eBay is just a common source for those. You can buy them used from different people. Police departments sell their old ones that they use. Like if you look at a lot of these different laser guns, like you look at this one, it says State of Illinois, Illinois State Police right there. Like this is an old police gun. I think I just bought it on eBay or something. Yeah. So yeah, when they upgrade to newer gear, a lot of times they'll sell out their old ones and stuff. So you can get them pretty inexpensively. Let's see, American Soldier. Yes, the original owner submitted the request. Okay, so that's how you got your V1 Gen 2 repair. The, I guess, original guy had to say it's my detector, even though he sold it. And then Valentine honors warranty. It's a weird situation. I'm glad he was able, or she, able to help you out with that repair process. I know it's made a lot of people skittish with buying. The V1 Gen 2 is really the quietest with V1 driver running. I really love it. Better than my 360C and R7. I think I really like the interface of it. Yeah, that's the thing. As long as you can get it repaired and it's working, a working V1 I think is great with V1 driver, JBV1. People think I'm saying that and I'm like sponsored by Valentine or something. I'm like, it's a great package. But at the same time, I think that for a lot of people, probably the majority of people, 360C or an R7 is going to be better just because it's got the integrated GPS. You don't have to mess with detectors dying or integrating your phone and stuff. Like, if you can take care of that, you got a good package. But for most people, it's probably not worth the headache. You just put it on your windshield and it does what it needs to do. I think that convenience is a really big thing for most people. But obviously some people are still going to like, you know, the other options that are out there. So it's nice we have choices. Hidden archives. Do you buy laser guns just to make these tests, or is it because you love collecting them? Just for fun. They're cool background props for the videos. Not really. Primarily, they're good for testing. If you want to test your setup, you get a gun. Make sure that it works properly. Check different areas in your car. And you learn a lot by using a laser gun, seeing how it works, how well can it lock on a car, how far away, what situations is it unable to lock on a car, how accurate are they, how well do they work in the rain. When you start seeing both sides of, like, from the laser gun or radar gun, as well as the radar detector, when you can see both sides, the whole picture starts to make a lot more sense than when you're just using a radar detector and it beeps and you're like, okay, well, there's a cop up there or something. When you can start seeing how everything all works together, it just makes a lot more sense. So it's been really helpful, I think. You know, get a radar gun. You can get a Bushnell like this, a K-band gun on Amazon for less than $100. I mean, it's not a police radar gun. It's very different. It doesn't have all the same features and everything, but you can use it for just basic testing and stuff. Oh, hey, Jack. Thanks so much for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, you're welcome. TMG, I know you guys have your the new VPR heads that you guys are working on. So I know you guys have had your improvements against the Dragon Eye, which is great to see. I'm glad to see you continue doing it. And I know you've got the JBV1 integration, which is awesome. If you've got the Valentine, yeah, it integrates directly with it. So that's cool. I wish ALP actually would integrate with stuff the way that TMG does. That's something that you guys, I think, are doing a great job of. I wish other companies would do what you guys are doing in that regard. It was a great idea. Vortex, is this your full-time job? Yeah, this is what I do full-time. Nobody sponsors me. I guess TMG sent me the super chat donation. Thank you. But I'm not like sponsored by any company. I do this. This is fun. If you guys do super chat stuff, if you watch the videos and there's ads, or if you buy a product I recommend, I make affiliate sales, or if you support me on Patreon, all that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff that supports me. That's how I'm able to literally just spend my time here playing with radar guns and laser guns and sharing with you guys things that I find out and kind of getting all the test results, whether I do or other people do, and make them available to you guys. That's how I'm able to do it. It's not a big secret or anything, but there's nobody that sponsors me. I'm not sponsored by any manufacturer. I just tell you exactly what I think. And yeah, every manufacturer, just treat them all the same. Here's what's good. Here's what's bad. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. Here's all the information. And now you decide what you want to do with it. Hey, American Soldier, thank you. I appreciate that. Yogesh, I'm a new subscriber. Welcome aboard. Good to have you here. DV Sir, how do you find the Uniden R7? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like, how do I like it? Or how do you find it online if you want to go buy it? Or what do you mean by how do you find the R7? Ski Bike, any chance Uniden will make their lockouts work like Escort? My Escort meets a signal when there's a lockout, but Uniden says lockout and still goes off. Do you mean like the Uniden beeps initially and then goes quiet? Or do you mean, I guess kind of reading your post, it says lockout, but it's still alerting? Sometimes you may need to create an additional lockout, like it's locked out one signal, but there's now a new signal that's present that's not locked out that you're going to need to lock out in addition. So you may need to do a little bit of work creating multiple lockouts, especially if you're maybe driving down the road. You create one lockout, then maybe another lockout, then maybe another. I think they've improved that with a couple of firmwares ago for the R3. But sometimes you do need to create multiple lockouts as you're driving around. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think that's a nice benefit of the auto lockouts, is it can just kind of take care of all that stuff for you. Haywood, this is coming to you in your new Orbi. I'm okay. Yeah. So I've had bad Wi-Fi here at home. I've got a couple Wi-Fi hotspots that conflict, but it's actually coming today. I'm super excited. I've got my cameras running here. I'm keeping an eye on it. So I'm excited about getting the new Wi-Fi for sure. This I'm actually running over just wired Ethernet, and I did just upgrade my internet to gigabit. So faster downloads, but the main thing that I really wanted with that is faster uploads. So hopefully this is working better. I used to have 12 megabit up. Now I'm at 35 megabit up. So I've got triple the upload speed. So hopefully my video quality for live streams looks better. And that also helps me when I need to upload several gigs of video to YouTube for whatever videos, just to help expedite that process. So hopefully the video quality is looking better for you guys. I don't know if this is going to be smoother. Looks good on my end. Hopefully it's smooth for you guys actually going over the internet. Video looks good. Great. But yeah, I'm excited about the Orbi. Every day I'm like, is it coming today? Is it coming today? So that's going to be fun to get better mesh Wi-Fi here at home. Let's see. I know this may be like beating a dead horse. R7 auto lockouts. Man, I wish that would go ahead and get released. I've asked several times, but they're not saying anything. I think it just has to do with the whole pending lawsuit, and who knows how long that's going to take. Lawsuits always tend to drag out over time, and I guess having courts and everything shut down right now is only going to drag the process out that much further. So I don't know when that's going to finally happen. And Uniden, are they going to settle and be able to add auto lockouts? Are they going to have to pay and hike up the prices? Is the patent going to expire? I wish I had better information. This whole thing has been kind of a mess for everybody involved across the board. So I hope that it gets resolved one way or another and we have an answer. Either they won't be able to add it, they are going to be able to add it, it's going to come out at a certain date. I wish we had a clear answer, but right now we're all still kind of left without a good answer. So right now I just consider R7, it's good detector. It is manual lockouts only. If and when it ever comes out, cool, but don't hold your breath. I guess the nice thing about that detector, it's like less than $450 now. So I think it's kind of becoming like a standard recommendation just because the bang for the buck is so awesome. You got arrows, you got manual lockouts. I mean, sure, if you want auto lockouts or if you want whatever else, get a different detector, but it's like a good general recommendation. I still think it's a good option, but yeah, we're still waiting on that whole auto lockouts thing. Lon, anyone had the problems with massive falsing with the V1 Gen 2 on JBV1? How is it falsing? Is it K-band? Is it laser falsing? Can you be a little bit more specific, or do you know maybe what's causing the false alerts? There's a variety of things that can cause a false, so maybe we can troubleshoot that a little bit. On K-band, is it maybe something from your own car? Is it other things? The BSM filter is better. The K-verifier, it's better on the Gen 2 than the Gen 1. I guess make sure the K-verifier is turned on and let JBV1 take care of all the, what's it called? The lockouts and low-speed muting. And you can always enable like little L mode or big L mode. I've got big L sitting here on it, so do that. And that does help add some additional K-band false alert filtering. So make sure you're running it in the big L mode, and that should help quiet it down even further. My R3 overheated due to too much sun. Have you heard about this? No, I don't think I've heard of R3s overheating. Did it just shut off or something? I've heard of maybe some other issues like speakers failing over time or something. I don't think I've heard of them overheating, or I don't know what it did when it overheated. V1 auto. If you're running the V1 in all bogeys mode, the one with the A, if it looks like this, that's all bogeys. That's going to tell it to alert to all signals. So switch to either little L mode like this to have it mute any weak signals, or big L mode like this to have it filter out altogether any signals that it thinks are false alerts. So if that's what you mean by V1 auto, the A is all bogeys mode, not an automatic mode or something. Michael and Joey, hope all is well. Thanks, guys. Yeah, things are going all right here. We're still kind of in quarantine, I guess. Just mom's a little bit older, maybe a little higher risk. So we're just still kind of doing our thing here, quarantine at home. Here in the Seattle area, we're still in phase 1. So things like gyms haven't reopened, barbers haven't reopened. I think auto dealerships and a few places are open, grocery stores, but we're still kind of in quarantine here. We were estimating by June 1st to move to phase 2. So like a little bit more stuff would start to open, but it doesn't look like we're going to be quite there yet here in this area. So we're still kind of hunkered down, going a little stir crazy, but it is what it is. And you guys too, I hope you guys are doing well. Are you guys, maybe some of you guys starting to reopen in different parts of the country? Are you still kind of at home? I know Jag42, TMGs, you guys mentioned you went out to go to the beach for a couple of days. I know you took your daughter. Kind of cool idea, actually. So if you got nobody around and it's safe to do, yeah, it's a cool idea. Leo, R3 shut off stuff. Let's see. Yeah, it shut off. I had to put the AC on for a while until it cooled, then plugged it back in and worked fine after. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Are you sure maybe it's not a power cable thing? It's solid. It may be overheating. I mean, I've had that happen with my black fuse, but that's the first time I've heard that with an R3. Things happen. Tech stuff. Burn-in. Let's see. All of my R1 and R3s have burn-in for the displays, but never burned up the detectors themselves here in Central Texas. Yeah, the OLED burn-in, that's definitely an issue. That's one of the reasons why V1 stuck with the LED instead of going to the fancier multicolor OLED, because it's a thing with the OLEDs. But in Jersey, slowly starting to reopen. Andy, reopening in Texas, still taking precautions. Awesome. I'm glad you're still taking your precautions too. I guess this whole thing, it's like, okay, we're starting to reopen, but we don't have a vaccine, so it's still going to ramp up. We're just trying to not overwhelm the hospitals, right? So it's not like everything is honky-dory. We're just still being cautious, but balancing that with economy stuff, I guess. Let's see. B King, with the R7, I double-click the mute button to lock out falses, and it doesn't work. Haven't gotten a chance to update the purchase. Is that why? Usually, if you're in the presence of a K-band signal and you double press the mute button, as long as you have a good GPS lock and it can tell you your speed or whatever, it should say mute memory. And so as long as it says that, that's how it's going to lock out. But make sure you have, I don't know if there's an option to turn lockouts on or off. You can just change what gets locked out. But as long as you have a good GPS lock and you're detecting an X or a K-band signal, you should just be able to double press the mute button and it locks out the signal. There's not really any like tricks to it necessarily. Mention what the lawsuit might mean to Unident's price. That's, yeah, a consideration. So if Unident loses the lawsuit with Escort, there's probably going to be some penalties that they'll have to pay, and they're going to have to make that up by raising the prices of their detectors. Plus, there's going to be royalty fees for each detector sold, where If they want to use lockouts, they're going to have to pay escorts the royalty for using that feature. And so that's going to hike up the price as well. So I think that's going to be kind of a consideration too, is the price of unit detectors may be going up as well if they lose the lawsuit. And that's, I know, again, that's for lawyers and judges to figure all that stuff out. But if that's what happens, I could see the price of unit detectors going up. Let's see. So okay. So Lon, you mean the auto mode for V1 with JBV1? Yeah, it can switch between big L and little L based on your speed. That is correct. If you want maybe more filtering at lower speeds, it can switch to big L, and then less filtering at higher speeds, it can switch to all bogeys or little L or something. Yeah, that's a cool option. But yeah, play around with the settings. If you're getting a lot of false alerts, maybe disable the auto V1 stuff and just run it in big L mode all the time. That's the way to get kind of the quietest experience in the V1 itself and the maximum level of V1 filtering. And then JBV1 adds more stuff on top of that. Terry, let's see. I need a radar detector. Can I Bluetooth to a helmet? Usually the way that works is Thea is the only radar detector I'm aware of that's going to be able to allow you to Bluetooth, from what I understand, from the radar detector directly to a helmet or directly to a car stereo. Everything else is going to require you to pair a phone to the detector, and then the phone duplicates the audio from the radar detector and pipes it out to your car stereo or your helmet. So your phone is the one that's creating the audio, and you're connected to the phone from your helmet, not to the detector itself. Doesn't really matter. Once you get it set up, it does the same thing either way. Plus, a lot of times the phone is more customizable than the detector based on how the audio works, especially for like the V1 or something. So that's usually how that works. That also applies with Escort Live if you're running an Escort detector. Some detectors have headphone jacks. The Unitons do, I believe. I know the V1 right there has a headphone jack. So for motorcycle riders, you could plug in that way. Maybe do like a headphone jack to Bluetooth adapter, and that Bluetooth goes to your helmet. So there's different ways to do it. Thea, I believe, is the only one that's being designed, from what they've explained, specifically to allow you to connect your helmet to the radar detector and just hear all the alerts that way, which I think is a cool simplification process. I think that's a great idea. But otherwise, you kind of have to either use like a Bluetooth dongle or a phone in the middle, and that's how that works. Royalties are around 30 to 90. Yeah, that's the range that I've heard as well. I guess it varies depending on detector agreements that you have, or I don't know, volume or whatever. I've never seen any of the agreements for royalties for the lockout feature, but $30 to $90 per detector for that. Plus, I guess if there's any penalties from the lawsuit, that'd be on top of it. Nick's clips. I left my plastic film on the front of my R3. It's my OCD. I was wondering if that impacts reliability. I don't believe so. The plastic film is usually just for shipping. I don't think it affects performance in any way. You can peel it off. Sometimes the lenses do eventually start to get scratched and stuff, but that's primarily just an aesthetic thing. I don't think it impacts performance in any way, at least that I've seen. I don't know if I've actually seen that tested directly, but yeah, usually those plastic condenser lenses, if they get some kind of micro scratches just over time, if you're taking your detector up and putting it down, I don't think it's a real big issue, but it's mostly just for shipping, I guess, and kind of a cool thing to peel it off when the detector is new, you know? Let's see, Nick Redebach. You mentioned the Escort 360 may be a better deal than the 360C. Do you still think that way? Still debating. Yeah, let's grab both of those detectors real quick. So 360C, original 360. So they're both the same detector, almost under the hood. Same performance, same BSN filtering. The 360C, the biggest difference, besides, I guess, the new case, and you can see it's got a different design, and it's a little bit smaller, which I like, it adds Wi-Fi. So if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot in your car, it can connect to the cloud over Wi-Fi instead of having to go through your phone, which I prefer. I find the phone connectivity to the cloud can be kind of hit or miss. It doesn't automatically reconnect over the phone every time you get in the car. But Wi-Fi, I find it works better, where it can just go out over Wi-Fi and connect to the cloud that way. That plus the fact that it can automatically update the red light camera database or the firmware when there's a new update that comes out. That's really the advantage here. If you don't have Wi-Fi in your car, this is what, $150 less for the original Mac 360. The mount is a little bit different. It has kind of the kind of first gen magnetic mount instead of the Easy Mag mount. I do like the arrows a little bit better here. They wrap around just the rear lens, and they're brighter, especially in direct sunlight, versus the 360C. They go all the way around the entire detector, and they're a bit wider and dimmer. They're not quite as bright, So I guess we can get into like nitpicking little details. This one, the build is a little bit sturdier. It's kind of like I don't know, it just build quality. This one feels better. The mute button here, it's kind of toward the front of the detector versus here, you have to go a little bit farther back, which is maybe a thing if you've got it mounted high and you're having to reach back a little bit. Whatever, without nitpicking, $150 more to get Wi-Fi is really the thing, which to answer your question, yeah, sure, this is going to be a better deal. $500 instead of $650 for the same performance, same BSN filtering. Okay, maybe you don't get some of the segmentation features and stuff, which affect filtering but not performance. Get this if you need the Wi-Fi. Get this if you don't. Is the simple answer without turning this into a crazy long comparison video and going into every single difference. TMG motorcycle laser jammer is nearly ready. Awesome. I know there's the adaptive one, the TPX, and I'm glad to see that you guys are working on one too, taking care of motorcycle guys. So great. That's cool. Futuristic Viper. Do you ever think we will see dash mount laser jammers? I don't. And it's due to the fact that the laws of physics are working against you. Laser is going to be shot down at the front license plate or the front grill or headlights, and it's a thin beam. A lot of times your radar detector in the windshield can't even see that beam in the first place. I mean, even if you have a sensitive one like the V1, you can see it, but I mean, with laser, you need to have the laser jammers mounted in the grill where the laser gun is aiming. If you put it up on the windshield, a lot of times it's not going to be able to see the gun or maybe stay in sync or fire back, or I don't know how it would work with like reflections bouncing back into your eye. It's best to just keep it all out there, you know, for safety and for functionality and effectiveness. I just don't think it's going to work out to do that. I've seen people maybe try it in a pinch for like rental cars and stuff, thinking maybe it's better than nothing, but they're really designed to be installed in the grill area. So that's why it's physics more than anything, I guess. Let's see, Vortex. I've got the Beltronics 995. Cool. Looking at the unit in R7 or V1 Gen 2. Great. Yeah, the 995, I think it's just like an older M4 or something, right? Like the RX65 or something. I know they had a bunch of like the V760 or whatever all the different numbers were for the Beltronics ones. They're all either S7s or M4 platforms. Similar idea, but with some slight changes in software. They're older detectors, not the greatest range, not the greatest BSN filtering. No GPS. Yeah, I mean, older detectors now, but they can still detect radar. They're probably going to give you a lot more false alerts than an R7 or V1, but they'll still detect radar. David Scott, options for leased vehicles regarding jammers. The easiest one would probably be the Escort ZW5, just because it's wireless. You don't have to drill a hole through the firewall. So if you're running an Escort detector, you can just put it in your grill, and then it wirelessly communicates to your radar detector. That's probably the easiest solution. That said, I used to lease a Hyundai Sonata, and I drilled a cable through my firewall, and I had blinder HP 905s at the time. That was okay. I even left the controller in the kind of in the dash. It was fine. I returned a leased vehicle as is. I tried to, of course, bring it back to stock as much as possible, so I removed the laser jammer heads and everything else. But yeah, it hasn't really been an issue. I saw somebody else who just returned their leased vehicle, and they uninstalled their laser jammer, and it was fine too. I mean, you got to uninstall, and then you're going to uninstall, so maybe don't cut up your grill too much or something, but make it uninstallable. It's a lot easier to uninstall than it is to install. To pull cables is a lot easier than trying to run them through in the first place. So if you can get them run through, it's okay. I mean, if you're going to keep the car, especially for 3 years or something, 3 years is a lot of time to need protection. So one radar detector company claims that they can make a windshield mount jammer. Yes, they do. They do claim that. There's a lot of people that claim stuff on the internet. It's funny. Matthew, I was just watching your videos from, I guess, 2013. Instant on. Okay, yeah, instant on. So that's an interesting thing. Instant on, I've got a gun here. Basically, it's just an officer, waiting, not transmitting radar. When they see a car, they pull the trigger, get the speed there. Boom. Instant on, the two main defenses: have a sensitive radar detector and have a rabbit up ahead. The idea is you're going to want the officer to be targeting the cars up ahead of you, and then you get the alert when they're targeting somebody else and not you. That way you get the advanced warning. If it's nighttime, if it's dark, if there's no traffic around, there's nobody ahead, you can't see the officers, you have no rabbits, that's really risky, right? But if you're in a situation where there's other cars up ahead and you've got a sensitive detector and you can pick it up ahead, that's really the best counter to that. I know Redensa Thea has a new feature that they're going to be adding. I forget what's IO Scout is the name of the feature, but basically the idea is it can actually tell the difference between an instant on shot and a weak constant on shot that you're picking up versus a BSM false or something. And I think that's going to be especially nice because if the detector picks up a weak instant on shot at a distance and can tell you that's a weak instant on shot, that means that, dude, you really need to make sure that you're being patient because there's an officer that's actually using instant on. It's not just a BSM false or something off in the distance. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe be patient, right? That I think is going to be really useful. Because yeah, IO, like you need a sensitive detector and I guess patience, and you're going to want to rabbit up ahead. So that's the way to go. Batman detector. Let's grab that one next and talk about that, shall we? All right. Where is my Batman? There we go. This thing. So speaking of crummy detectors, I guess, yeah, it's got the little Batman logo on it. I have no idea why. Some of these have the Batman logo, some don't. You can get these in for like $20. They are, yes, they're the best detectors on the market. It's amazing how many people buy these. I guess they're marketed. People will go on Alibaba and buy these for, I don't know, $10 or whatever they are wholesale and turn around and sell them for 20 or 30. They are awful detectors. That's kind of what got me thinking, or as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, about wanting to test detectors that don't get tested as often. I mean, not because like I want to make detectors look bad. I just think it's good to know all the different options and how they work, and for the sake of being informed. And I mean, I think it's good. Okay, watch a review of this. You can see this is not a detector to get, and then maybe what else can we go do, or just for the sake of either comedic value or entertainment, or I personally don't focus on lower end stuff. I like to focus on things that are awesome, that are good quality, that are going to help keep you protected on the road, that do a good job. That's what really matters, So that's the stuff I generally focus on. But from time to time, it's fun to look at this kind of stuff, to be a little, I guess, lighthearted about it. I paid $8 for my Batman detector. Man, you got a smoking deal on yours. Jib Jab, thank you. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Michael Douglas, any radar jammers? Nope. They are highly illegal. They are not very effective, especially against the newer KA radar guns. They go out of tune quickly. No companies make them and sell them here in the US. So, no. It's laser jammers are a different story, but radar jammers, not happening. Leo, you should consider testing and reviewing other products. I've thought about that. I think I reviewed like phone cases, and I did my security cameras. I reviewed that. It's funny, whenever I do that stuff, I start getting all these requests from people who like, oh, can you review RV cameras? Or companies will contact me and say, hey, can you review my security camera? Can you review my phone mount? Can you review all this stuff? And I'm like, whoa. Okay, before I get too wide, I want to make sure that I focus on just stuff that I love. And this stuff already keeps me pretty busy. I'm still behind on some of my dash cam reviews. My VFO A129 Pro I want to get up. My ThinkWare U1000 that I still need to do. I've still got a huge list already of things that I want to do that are my primary focus. And then I'm like, let's test some other detectors that I haven't tested yet. So, how broad do I want to go? Do I want to expand my channel versus do I want to focus on my niche? And that's always, I guess, a fun topic of conversation. And yeah. Terry, how's the baby? She's doing awesome. She's over 10 months now. She's doing great. She can now crawl. She's doing great. She's able to start pulling herself up. We had to install baby gates around the house now so that she doesn't go down the stairs. We're teaching her how to go off the bed feet first instead of face first. So she's learning that. She can stand now. If we hold her, she can't stand on herself, but she's learning to put weight on her feet, which is the coolest thing ever. And she gets so happy. I'm just super excited now that she's able to start crawling. That's the big new thing. Babbling a lot, loves eating food, solids. So it's pretty awesome. Super cute. Awesome baby. I'm a happy daddy. She's an awesome girl. So yeah. V1 Gen 2 R7. Any opinions besides the filtering that'll most likely be improved? I've got a whole video that talks about just V1 Gen 2 versus Unit and R7. Take a look at that. That goes into a good amount of information about differences between those two detectors specifically. There's another video that's I forget how I titled it. It was like built-in Bluetooth versus GPS or something like that. And the difference is there. That is also a really interesting one you may want to check out. And that's a big also difference between the V1 and a lot of other detectors that have GPS built in versus the V1 that doesn't have GPS, but has that functionality in with third-party apps or first-party apps and Bluetooth. So definitely take a look at that too. It's not just, which one has longer range or better BSM filtering. Those are good starting points. But yeah, those are like definitely things that you're going to want to take a look at too. So take a look at those two videos, Bluetooth versus integrated GPS and R7 versus V1 Gen 2. Let's see. Thanks for reviews. You are welcome. Ended up buying a 360C, set it and forget it. That's the way to go. If that's what you want, by all means, it's a great set it and forget it option, especially if you have the Wi-Fi. Sure. Automatic updates, auto lockouts. It's got that going on. That's the big appeal of that. So I hope you're liking the Detector too, and it's treating you well. And I'm glad now it seems like the lockup issues are being resolved. I'm pretty sure that's the case, maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's really a big issue anymore the way it was. So thankfully for everybody who runs an Escort detector. Isma J, thoughts on Passport 8500 X50? It's also an older M4, kind of a tweaked M4 detector. No GPS, no Bluetooth. It was a great detector back in its day. Newer detectors have, GPS built in. They've got Bluetooth. They've got better range. They've got better BSM filtering, which is a big thing. They've got arrows. I mean, 8500, yeah, it was a good detector back in its day, but there's just better options nowadays. So if you want newer features or better filtering or something, that would probably be the biggest reason to upgrade. But otherwise, if it's working for you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go buy something immediately just because there's something new. If you want the new features, by all means, upgrade. But it's not a bad detector. There's just not a good reason to buy one anymore, given that there's better detectors that don't even cost all that much money a lot of times. Go get a DFR7 for $140 or whatever it is right now. Great performance, better BSM filtering, integrated GPS, manual lockouts, red light camera alerts. Like a lot of those detectors, it was good back then, but there's not a good reason, I guess, to get it nowadays. Let's see. What's up, Mike? Thanks for all you do. You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for joining me here and just hanging out on a Friday afternoon here, just chit-chat about radar detectors. David, waiting for problems to be nullified based on your V1 Gen 2 review. Yeah, I was expecting too all the stuff to be like completely addressed. It's been, looks like mostly addressed, not completely. Luckily, Valentine is taking care of people, especially now that they're starting to reopen and ship. If there's any issues, it sucks, but they'll take care of people. I mean, we talked about issues with the Escorts locking up or the Unitons overheating and dying or OLEDs or whatever. Like stuff happens with all of these detectors. Sucks. iPhones can fail, Androids. So I'm just glad that they're taking care of people. And like you, I'm also really hopeful that they get this stuff totally resolved. So it's not an issue at all. And we can just put it behind us and move on. Keith, no mention of the Redline EX. Is it not a top tier product? Man, I think I've owned 2 Redline EXs, sold them, got rid of them both. So RDD immune, awesome. Build quality, great. I like the Escort tones. The mount is good. Performance, lower than it should be. It's a step back from the original. BSM filtering, not as good as the competition. MRCD stuff, capable but not as good as the Redensos. If you want it, like one of the big appeals, I guess, of the Redenso, or sorry, of the Redline EX is, okay, it's RDD immune. It's got not the greatest range. It's got reasonable range, and it's got MRCD stuff. Okay, well, if you want range and MRCD, go get a Redenso Pro M. Do that. It costs $150 less. It's way more compact. The Redline EX is a big, bulky detector, and if you want something that's undetectable and stealth, why would you put a big freaking detector with like a big light up LED that you can admittedly turn off? But why would you put a big detector on your windshield? You can get a super tiny little Redenso Pro M that has better MRCD stuff, that's also RDD immune, costs $150 less, has better BSM filtering. Okay, so it doesn't have the fancy multicolor display, the frequencies around it, doesn't have auto lockouts, and it doesn't have Bluetooth. So again, pros and cons to everything, but overall, Redenso Pro M, I think, is a better choice for less money than the Redline EX. R3, manual lockouts, half the price of the Redline EX, less than half the price, better range. I mean, the Redline EX is just one of those detectors where there's better choices out there. So I don't know. And yeah, I'm guessing the Redline 360, if it comes out before Christmas, I would love to see a Redline 360C. If it's based on the M7 of the Max CI, I think that would be a great detector. I would love to run a detector like that. I mean, that could take, if it's got great range, if it's got RDD immunity and auto lockouts and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, I mean, it's kind of like, let's unplug my V1 here real quick. I guess it's kind of like these two detectors in one. This has your RDD immunity and your long range, right? This has your, I guess, what does this do? The auto lockouts. It's got the multicolor OLED display. They both have the arrows. It adds the Wi-Fi stuff. I mean, you're kind of taking the best of both worlds here. It's like this detector, but longer range and RDD immunity. That could be a great choice. So I don't know if Escort, if they build that detector, would it be based on kind of the Redline EX M3? Are they calling it M3 Plus now? I think it's like M3 Plus, M3, I forget. But I would love to see them based it on the M7, kind of a more digital version like what they have here to get the better BSM filtering and not require BSRDR for better performance. I think it could be a great detector. I am very much excited about it. And I mean, as much as I like this for the JBV1 stuff, but if you want a more plug and play option like this, and you like this kind of stuff without having to worry about all the phone integration, I think a Redline EX 360C or whatever they call it could be an awesome detector. But it'll probably be more expensive. It'd be, I don't know, $700. The Redline EX is $600. And a 360C is $650. Are we looking at $700, $750? Now we're starting to get close into Redenso Thea territory, which is going to be better still. So I kind of wonder where that detector would fit in, but I think it would be super interesting on how that would work out if and when it comes out. So anyways, I love all the talking about good radar detectors, you know? Haywood, you're paying for stealth and auto lockouts, not performance. Well put, yeah. B King, thank you for the super chat donation. Appreciate that. Question, do you have literature in the ALP setup in regards to how to receive and jam, receive only after hit? I want to advise the installer. Yes, take a look on my website. Go to vortexradar.com and scroll down to the ALP. There's a link there that says how to install. That'll take you to my ALP setup guide. It's like a 9-page setup guide. I wrote it a couple years ago, but it's pretty much still up to date. And it goes over everything as far as how to install the jammers in your grill, where they should go, how they should be oriented, how do you configure the jammer, how do you set it all up and get it up and running. Definitely take a look at that so that you can go to your installer and have like an informed discussion with them about how the stuff should go. And when you get it home, how do you configure it and how do you use it? There was a guy on RDF who went to an installer who's apparently pretty knowledgeable, does a lot of installs, did a horrible install with, heads pointed out like this, heads stuck way too far forward, just like really bad quality install. These are people who should know what they're doing. And that was kind of more an exception to the rule. Usually a lot of installers are pretty good, but that's not always the case. So either way, I think it's good for you as the owner with your car and your jammers and your money and your license on the line. Good to do a little bit of research at least. So take a look at my setup guide. It'll go over all that. That way you know what to look for and you can kind of talk over things with them and you can both have a good discussion on where things should go and how they should be installed. So anyway, go to my website, find the ALP setup guide, how to configure. That's the link that you're going to look for under the ALP section. And that'll cover that there for you. Auto kill on all jammers. Yeah, you'll want it set up by default. I think it's like a 4-second auto kill, which is a good starting point, and you can manually press the button to disable even faster. Yeah. Let's see. I need to make some brand there, and I need to make some paper/cardboard models of the various laser jammer options to figure out what makes the most sense for my car. Yeah, that's good to actually go out and kind of map everything out ahead of time. Let's see. Speaking of installers, I love the work that your installer did on your car. Yeah, me too. I've been meaning to do an update video. Maybe a good quarantine content type video. So just another thing to do. It's on my list of things to do. So yeah, I used Music Car Northwest in Portland. Awesome, top-notch installers. There's other good installers too. They just happen to be kind of up here in the Pacific Northwest, but they're good. So anyways, looks like that is my cue. I have got to get going here, but thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Just hanging out and chatting radar detectors. So hope you guys are doing well, whether you're just here in quarantine, if you're able to start going back out yet, playing with countermeasures, whatever. Hope you guys are healthy, happy, saying both words at the same time, and doing well. So Cool. All right, guys. I will see you later. Thanks for tuning in. Later.